In some big time news, AEW has just landed one of the hottest free agents in all of professional wrestling. We're going to talk about exactly who that person is, what they could be doing in AEW, and so much more. We are also going to talk about two other free agents who were recently in AEW who look as if they are WWE bound very soon. And they could be some very familiar faces for WWE fans. We're going to talk about that, so much more right here in this video. I'm so excited. Be sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Let's begin by talking about AEW's latest prime time signing, that being former TNA World's Heavyweight Champion, Josh Alexander. So we were wondering for a while, where would Josh Alexander end up? There was talk that eventually he would end up in TNA, or in NXT, excuse me, given the partnership that TNA had with that brand. But it looks like he is headed to AEW, this courtesy of the good folks over at FightfulSelect.com. You can see here, Josh Alexander is expected to be AEW bound. It really was a situation where he would either end up in AEW or WWE. There really was no middle ground. There was no going to the Indies. There was no returning to Impact, or TNA, excuse me, given the way that he left and also given the send-off that he had. He has been saying for months that he was going to have to make a major decision. And for Josh Alexander, this seems to be a twofold decision. Number one, this is his final real chance to go out there as big as he's ever been, as over he's ever been, and with the notoriety that he has now built over the last couple of years in TNA to really capitalize on his stardom. Wrestling and the in-ring career of a lot of people, and your height especially, is fleeting. You never know when your last match is going to be your last. You never know when things aren't going to be as hot as they are in professional wrestling currently. So you want to be able to take advantage of things when you can. And with respect to this, I think Josh is making a decision here that is going to probably set him and his family up for great success down the line. On top of that, we have to talk about the fit in AEW. Josh Alexander fits in AEW like a glove. He is a wrestler's wrestler. He is a guy who is going to tell impeccable, amazing, outstanding stories in that ring. And I know that there's this big debate online about whether or not you can tell a story in the ring and how you need to have like 15, 20 minutes of promo time to really tell a story. I think for a lot of people, especially a lot of AEW's base fans, that's not necessarily the case. There's a million different ways to tell a story. You can 100% go out there, cut a 20-minute promo and have it be fantastic and have it energize the crowd and have it really ramp things up. But you can also tell a story with action. Think about stars like the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. Think about stars like Dean Malenko. Think about stars like Zack Sabre Jr. Think about stars like Kenny Omega. Cody Rhodes at one point, even when he was in ROH. While he was a massive personality, a lot of what was driving stories, especially during his time in ROH and early days in AEW, wasn't necessarily related to the promo time. It was related to the action that was in the ring. Think about one of the best stories he's told as far as match goes with Dustin Rhodes. That was all there. Of course, you had the background of them being brothers, but that was all there, made in Las Vegas in that ring. You can certainly tell a story through action. And this guy is evidence of that. If you have never seen Josh Alexander wrestle, I highly recommend after you check out this video, you go check him out because he is a bona fide stud. I think he's going to fit like a glove in AEW. As I said before, the only real downside that I could see with this situation is if he falls into the abyss of AEW talent that aren't used on a week-to-week basis. The reality is, with AEW, you only have 4 weeks of television, so you only have 4 weeks to tell all your stories with the bulk of the talent that you're going to use. So you have to prioritize time, you have to prioritize stories, you have to prioritize who's going to be on what show. That's why I think Josh Alexander on AEW should be positioned in a way where you can have him fit on each show, kind of in his own realm, so to speak. The way I would book it is have Josh Alexander come out and essentially do open challenges where he slowly but surely works his way up through the AEW roster. And it's not going to be a thing where, oh, he's a rookie who needs to work his way up. It's going to be a slow told story to ingratiate him with the AEW audience, with the wider audience, and slowly build him up to be this unbeatable monster that he is in a ring. He is essentially Kurt Angle in 2008. He's a wrestling machine. And I'm telling you guys, if you've never seen him wrestle, you are in for a treat with Josh Alexander. Moving on from AEW, let's actually talk about a few names that recently left AEW that have either already signed with or are immediately headed to WWE. It's three very familiar faces. One of them, Ricky Starks, of course, we've already talked about. He has signed with WWE. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter actually added a little bit of context to that report. Even before his AEW release, WWE actually had plans for Ricky Starks to debut in NXT at a major event later this year, but sped up the process as soon as he was available. So we know that about Ricky Starks. He is there. He is WWE. He's going to be in NXT, it seems like, and he is going to keep now the Ricky Starks name. One of the reasons why originally that was kind of an unknown was because the contract just seemed to have come together so quickly that may have been a wrinkle that they did not work out. But one thing we have also learned, courtesy of Dave Meltzer and Wrestling Observer newsletter, is that the belief is that Malakai Black and Miro will also be in WWE very soon. Those in WWE have said that creative had been talking about Black and Miro. This, again, according to Dave Meltzer and Wrestling Observer newsletter. Malakai Black and Miro, two other talents who either, in Malakai's case, had their contract expire, or in the case of Miro, had his contract actually released, or he was released, by the company. Those are interesting. It was a foregone conclusion that Black would end up in WWE. This had been reported before. This were where the winds were kind of going as far as him. But Miro is an interesting one because Miro was one we were all wondering, well, maybe it'll take a little bit of time before WWE brings him back into the fold. Of course, he was in WWE, as was Malakai Black. Prior to his run with AEW, he was Rusev. We all remember him coming out on a tank. We all remember Rusev Day. Wonderful memories. And it looks like they are going to definitely try to cash in on a bit of the nostalgia with Rusev there. And it's going to be interesting because part of me, in a very similar way, where I kind of wonder about Josh Alexander kind of, getting lost in the abyss of talent in AEW, I also kind of worry about Miro in the very similar way. Not that he's not talented, not that any of that, but the reality is the big man gimmick that he does is done by a lot of people in WWE. That doesn't mean you don't have a place for him. It doesn't mean you can't find a place for him. That doesn't mean he's not the type of talent you would want to find a place for. But I'm just sitting here thinking, how realistic is it for him to kind of just come in when you already have guys like a Bronson Reed who's coming back soon? When you already have guys like a Braun Breaker you built up? Like, you already have guys like a Braun Strowman, right? Like again, you can have him as being another big guy, but it's more of what do you do with him that's important, right? One of the biggest hangups that affected his AEW career was the creative. Him and AEW could never really get on the same page as far as creative goes, and it really hampered things from the get-go, and that's why for, I would say, nearly half of his entire run in AEW, he wasn't even on TV. So what do you do if you're faced with the same situation in WWE? Will you be faced with the same situation in WWE? These are the questions that I'm sure are on the minds of many wrestling fans. I know they're on my mind, but beautiful thing is, you probably won't have to wait around very soon or for very long, I should say, because it looks like he's going to be coming out very soon. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think about Miro, Rusev, whatever you want to call him? What do you think about him potentially making a return to WWE? What do you think about Malakai Black coming back and Ricky Starks' debut? AEW fans, what do you think about Josh Alexander? Who do you want to see him face? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, be sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone who has tuned in this far into the video. I really appreciate you guys. Until next time, be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.